Is there a chance that Tesla will drop by 70 or even more percent? Come on, that's clickbaiting. You want to make us watch this video, and then we will find out now it's a perfect buy situation. Well, I don't see that's the fact currently. Of course, I'm not 100% sure that the market will drop around the 100 to around the $100 mark. However, I see a good chance that this will happen because it is something which is quite typical for the market to do so. But is it realistic? Yeah, many people say, yeah, the numbers we've seen yesterday haven't been so well. We had a drop here, we had a gap to the downside a little bit. That's not too strong, so we should not be too much cautious about this one. But what should lead the market so low? Is there some fundamental background behind this idea? Well, many people say that maybe Tesla is not on the best way to be the future car. It's maybe too simple and not developing. Other car makers in Asia doing a quite good job and seem to have the better cars, or the better at least looking cars and whatever. So, but that's not the point I want to talk about. And I also don't want to talk about political aspects. Many people may think maybe I don't want to buy this car from Elon Musk because I'm not sure I like this guy or not. That's not my point. I don't want to judge the car, and I don't want to judge the maker. In this video, I will only show you from a chart technical aspect that I see a really good chance that the market may plunge to really low levels here, and that we can see maybe even $100 as the next big target, not in the next few days, for Tesla stocks, until we see maybe, hopefully, that the market will recover and move to higher ground. So why is it? So as I said, this is a chart technical discussion, and I am normally quite deep into the Elliot wave pattern. So whenever I'm seeing the charts, I'm really enlightened from the idea that the market is moving in these patterns. And you see this very, very often, some kind of a strong move, some kind of a weak move. So you can see which side is the stronger one. And you can see, okay, there seems to be a corrective pattern compared to this one. This seems to be the strong one here in the front. Especially you could see this. And also the overall movement you could see here. I simplify it here, but you can see that this typical behaving in the market, you can see in so many aspects in the past, not only with Tesla, but also here. So this is giving me a good indication. We have a good chance that this will continue and guide us to the next targets. So what do we see here? I just mentioned the movement here to the upside, going up to November 2021. So it's a few years ago. And after that high here, the market came down to this level. So it's quite easy to understand what this kind of movement is from a typical Elliott wave perspective or a typical chart technical aspect. You could see that this quite obvious looks like a corrective pattern in this case. The end was quite strong, but the overall pattern looked like a corrective pattern. It's quite easy because the market came to higher ground. So since then we know that this is a corrective pattern from here to here. So that's the easiest part here. And normally, if this is all of the corrective, so if we say this is the strong movement here to the upside, we would expect that the market will come to some level here, which is very often related to the Fibonacci's. You could see it was a strong movement. We came down to 78.6% roughly, which is a really low setback. The market came down strongly in this case. But the market recovered from that point, and we had a chance that the market could do something a little bit similar like what we've seen here, something like a movement. I would expect something like this. If the market would do so, I would think that the market is in a healthy situation, continuing to higher grounds, and yeah, moving in a really strong manner. However, that was not the fact at that point. You could see we had here a perfect impulsive move to the upside and a perfect setback here. And after that, the market continued. And I was super happy with this movement because it's a really typical one. It is textbook-like. You can see also the setback, Fibonacci into the typical grounds, 38.2, 50%, 61.8. Around this, most of the corrective patterns are leading the market into this. And after that, continue to higher grounds following the first strong movement we've seen here at the very beginning. But I doubt it in a really positive way. As soon as the market did not continue here to higher ground and giving us the next correction way higher than this correction here, I doubted this strong picture already in this time here, because we had a setback, which is a corrective pattern, which is clearly overlapping with this one. Overlapping is not a good situation, but in this case you can say, this is way bigger than this one. Of course, this is an internal movement, and this is the big setback from that movement. I'm fine with this one, but this leads to a three-wave pattern, and we all know three-wave pattern are corrective pattern, the same like here. This is also a three-wave pattern, and three-wave pattern are really typical corrective moves. So what we have from here to here until the big corrective move started, we had a three-wave pattern, and we know that normally strong movements, continuous bull markets, for example, they have five-wave patterns and not three-wave patterns like we've seen here. So what I would expect after this one is, of course, a continuation to higher grounds. However, it should be something like a corrective pattern, and maybe we are not super sure what this is. But does it look like this one with similar setbacks without overlapping? We had a setback here, okay, and a big one here, overlapping by the way, which is either overlapping, not impulsive, or not an impulse move, or it is a three-wave, a big corrective pattern, and something like this here again. So I can imagine, I'm not absolutely sure, that we had something like this here, maybe a little bit different, but it does not look like an impulsive move. I was maybe not super sure, but latest, when the market came back, overlapping here again, it was absolutely obvious that this is not a typical impulsive move. So as I said before, this starting from that point, coming down, overlapping here, this was a little bit awkward, not the typical behavior for a bull market. Doing the same thing here, same with the overlapping, is indicating that the whole part here is a corrective pattern. The good thing is we have, from a theoretical standpoint, we have a situation where the market is moving in something like a corrective pattern after a corrective pattern. This is something like a sideways correction, or parts of it, where you have an A move, corrective, a B move, also corrective, as we said before, and finishing with a C move. And the C wave typical looks like an impulse move. Impulse is strong downside, corrective to the upside, strong to the downside, corrective to the upside, strong to the downside. This would be a typical, a wonderful flat correction, a three-wave pattern, 3, 3, 5. And this one is super typical. You can expect that this is quite often happening in the market. And we have a good chance that this is up currently due to because of this movement. Normally, these flat situations end roughly around this level. It can be a little bit higher, not rarely, it is even lower than this. So it's not exactly, this is just an educated guess. It's not, please don't take it by point and also not the date here, that the market definitely will fall into this one. But this corrective pattern is super typical. I told you that normally we have something like an ABC, a three-wave pattern, like we've seen here, for example, or in other places, as a typical corrective pattern. And you can roughly think half of the corrective pattern are like this, and the other half of the corrective pattern is looking like this. And you see this corrective pattern is exactly what we see here, A, B, C. This is the big scaled pattern what we see here. To be honest, by statistic, it is even more. The chance for this corrective pattern is even a little bit higher than this one. This is called a sharp correction, which is typically a zigzag, double zigzag, something like this. And these are flats or double sideways, which is a sideways correction. Double sideways is a little bit different. It can also happen in a double sideways. This is not an 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave impulsive move. It is an A, B, C pattern. But you see, even in this case, we would expect that the market will continue to lower grounds. And as this one is quite high compared to this level here, I would expect that we have a flat instead of a double sideways. Statistically, you can roughly say if you have a sideways correction, 2/3 of all the sideways correction are flats, 1/3 are double sideways. So it is more typical that we have a 5-wave pattern here at the end than the other one. Of course, this is all a lot about statistics. And we all know statistically it is rare to dice a 6 compared to all the other numbers, but we know that very often you do so. But this pattern is so typical that at least we should have this in mind when watching or seeing the Tesla stock. With this video, I don't want to lead you to immediately sell short Tesla. It's not that I know that the market definitely will go here, but I want to make you aware that chart technical analysis can give us a clue what is possible and from what point I can see, is this due? Is it just possible? Or is it not really realistic and we should not care so much? In this situation, this typical chart technical behavior is so typical for a corrective pattern that I would think it's the best chance to have this at least in mind and maybe check the chart movement here on the right end of the market, maybe to find some good entry points for a short. So let's do this together if you like. We can have a closer look at this movement. If it is really a flat, then you can estimate that this is a, let's go a little bit deeper, a little bit, maybe something like this, which is a really strong movement to the downside, kind of a counter move. To be honest, I'm not super sure how to count this. There are several different, let's say, solutions to count this. One might be it is an ABC sideways correction here as well after this strong movement. Some people are thinking this. It might be that this is the first wave to the downside and we have to double check, is this movement from that low to higher grounds, is this corrective or not? And it is, let's say, barely not corrective. It can be an impulsive move without overlapping here. It is still possible. But what I'm absolutely curious, if we break this level, then I would say we are on the best way to reach the lower points, roughly around the 100 level. And this might be one point to enter the market. If you know my trading style, you know what I prefer in this case is something like a strong movement to the downside and a really corrective pattern to the upside on a lower time frame, for example on a daily chart or even maybe lower, and trying to enter the market at that level, because this is giving me a little bit better risk reward ratio and a maybe quite good entry point for the short. To be honest, currently I don't see this. So it is not an immediate short situation here with Tesla. And I don't want to bring you to the wrong idea. Please sell short. At that very moment, you can see that the market definitely will drop there. I'm not 100% sure about this movement here. But I think it's so important to understand generally how the market movements unfolds in these different wave patterns, and to be aware of the situation in Tesla, that this currently from the overall view is not looking perfect for a real bull market. So I want to keep you updated whenever I see something. I try to keep you updated on this channel, so I think it's a good idea to follow me on this channel so that you can see more videos here, and the more followers I have, the more I'm motivated to do more videos here. I want to do more chart technical analysis on interesting things. I did so with the Bitcoin lately, so it was quite useful to have an eye on what I'm saying here on the charts. Maybe it is helping you, and I wish it is, and gives you some good ideas for your own trading. Crossing my fingers for your trading success. Please follow me. Give me a thumb up if you like it. And looking forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye.